The next comedian has one of the most angenehme Stimmen. And do you know who it is? Yes, of course it's Ann Johnson. A big applause for Ann Johnson back on stage with me. All right.
You guys. It's so great to be back here, and thank you so much for coming out, and thank you, or if you're already out, thank you. Thanks to Denise for having me. This is just okay. Lived through this, right? When I was a little girl in the 1970s in the United States, the first tampon commercial came on TV. Very first tampon commercial. And back in the 1970s, you couldn't say words like menstruate or even period on TV. So the tampon commercials would be like people riding horses, people swimming, riding the rides at an amusement park, wearing white. When I was about 8 years old, in elementary school, there was a really popular joke that we liked to tell each other a lot, which was that a group of kids were getting together to play, but they didn't have a lot of money. They were trying to decide what activities they could do with the money that they had. And one of the kids said, "We should buy a box of tampons, because then we can go ride horses and swim in the swimming pool and ride all rides at the amusement park." When I was doing my research for this, because it's normal to do research for comedy, when I was doing my research for this, I found out that the first time that the word period appeared in a television commercial, it was Courtney Cox. Yes! Doing an ad for Tampax, wearing sort of purple spandex. She says period 3 times in that ad. And it's interesting, so by the time the 80s came around, not only that you could go swimming and ride horses, but you could also wear purple spandex. Progress. When I was about 28 years old, so about 20 years after my peak humor moment with the box of tampons, when I was 28 years old, I got pregnant. The nice thing about being pregnant is that you don't have to worry about menstruating or periods or tampons for 9 months. I wouldn't recommend it just on that basis. Because when the 9 months is over, you have to give birth, which for some people is quite lovely. For me, it was kind of like, it was very fast, I'll give it that. It was very fast, and it was kind of like a fist going very fast through a wet paper bag. I know that makes you uncomfortable, but I lived it. So that was 28. When 20 years later, I'm 48, and I started to notice that whenever I was laughing or sneezing, I would pee a little. And I solved that by wearing really big pads and never laughing and never sneezing. I'm kidding. No, the pads part was true. What would happen is when I would laugh, my quality of life would be significantly diminished, which is ironic. And when I sneeze, and I'm one of those people who sneezes like 10 times. So like I'd sneeze and people would say, "Bless you." And then I'd sneeze again and they'd say, "Bless you." And then I'd sneeze again and they'd be like, "Ha ha ha, stop already, oh my God." And I'd be sitting there trying to clench the relevant muscles, praying that I didn't pee through the pad, hating everyone. Over the course of about 10 years, it got worse. It wasn't just laughing, it wasn't just sneezing, and it wasn't just leaking. Got to the point where I had to sometimes wear diapers. Or not leave the house, which also happened. So I'm wearing diapers, and like I had been a single mom, me and my son. I had a hot diaper bag game, right? You bring more diapers than you think you're gonna need, you bring a change of clothes, also maybe tissues, baby wipe, I don't know. You know, I had a really good diaper bag game, but I was 55. This was not the life that I planned for myself. So I went to a doctor to ask for advice, and he suggested that I lose weight. And I went to another doctor, and they suggested that I do pelvic floor exercises, which is pronounced Kegels, sir. One thing I know though about doctors and your body, like, you are allowed to do whatever it takes to make you feel comfortable in your body. And if the doctor doesn't listen to you, you don't have to listen to them. Find another doctor. There's a subtext there that I was hoping you would catch. So yeah, so I finally went to a doctor who actually did some tests and said, yeah, this is, I'm not saying that losing weight and quitting smoking and everything wouldn't have been maybe good for my health, but come on, my vagina was a wet paper bag. So I finally went to a doctor who did some tests and said, yeah, this is beyond like Kegels and weight loss, you need surgery. And the surgery is that they take a piece of fishnet, but not that fishnet. They take a piece of fishnet and they wrap it around your bladder and then you don't leak anymore. Whoa! And this surgery was happening a week before the PCC show in Stuttgart. And I, had to do the, what are you gonna be able to do after the surgery? What are you not gonna be able to do after the surgery? And they said, well, and it's ironic because it's the reverse of the tampon box. So for 2 months after the surgery, I wasn't supposed to go swimming, wasn't supposed to ride horses, wasn't supposed to do anything bouncy. And the nurse also said, you can't have sex, penetrative sex. And it's like been 2 years since I'd had penetrative sex because I can't be bothered. I thought it would be funny. I thought this was a very funny conversation that I said to her, well, like, after the 2 months is over, will I want to? And she was like, żadny sex. So okay. So I thought, well, not really planning to ride horses or swim or have sex in Stuttgart. The only thing that was a little concerning to me was that I wasn't supposed to lift anything over 5 kilos. But my son and his wife were living in Nuremberg. So I live in Bernau. My son and his wife were living in Nuremberg, and the show was in Stuttgart. So they went with me to Stuttgart to see the show. My son carried my bag for me, which was nice. And they went with me to see the show because they are discerning people of taste and quality, much like yourselves. So they came to the show with me. Great, we stayed the night. The next morning we were gonna go back to Nuremberg and then on to Bernau. And I thought that he would be carrying my bag for me, like the queen I am. They got up early the next morning and booked out of the hotel to go back to Nuremberg to work, and I woke up in the hotel with my bag. My bag that I wasn't supposed to carry. Okay, so I carried it to Nuremberg. I just figured, 5 minutes. So I carried it to Nuremberg, that's fine. And when I got to Nuremberg, to the train station, I thought I'll just check my bag into the storage locker and then continue on to join them. But the storage part of the station was closed. And I wanted my son to come down to the station and help me. But because of the wet paper bag. Because I'd had surgery, because of the wet paper bag, which was his fault. Actually, stress incontinence can have many causes. It can be because you're overweight, and it can be because you smoke, and it can be because you gave birth, but lots of people get it that don't need to lose weight, that never smoked a cigarette, that never gave birth. So it's not really fair to assign blame, and it's not nice to be manipulative, but I was in the Nuremberg train station. So I called my son and I said, why don't you come and pick me up? And he said, well, I'm very busy. And I said, okay, so then I'll be waiting in the train station by myself for 3 hours. And he said, okay. And the Nuremberg train station, like train stations everywhere, is some of the city's finest folk. So I sat down in the train station with my bag, and I made it for about an hour before I thought, oh, I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry here in this train station. And I understand that lots of people have had lots worse things happen to them. People who deserve it much less than I do, but I'm talking about me, so. And I have to let you know how sad this was so that when I give you the happy ending, you'll be, happy. So I sat in the train station for about an hour, and then I realized something, that I am of a certain age, that I am of an age that people now consider harmless. And also that I remind a lot of people of their mom, or on a good day, of the mom they wish they had. So what I did was I took my bag and I dragged it to the nearest nice hotel, and I went into the nice hotel, and the very nice desk clerk took my bag for me and got me into a comfortable armchair and brought me coffee and cookies and a phone charger. And I spent the remaining hours in this lovely hotel thinking about how fucking lucky I am. Now I'm 58, nearly, and I thought that I would tell you the lessons that I learned from this very difficult experience. First lesson is, it doesn't really matter a whole lot whose fault it is. The sooner that you can let go thinking about fault and start thinking about solutions, the happier you will be. And this applies oddly to your parents and your kids. I'm not saying it's not their fault, I'm saying let that shit go and focus on getting better. That's one. Second thing, practice now having the authority to ask for the things you want. So that when you are suddenly old, you will not have to sit in Nuremberg train station for an hour before it occurs to you that you can ask for help. And the third thing that I know is, no matter how much money you have or don't have, if you can get together with a group of friends and buy a box of tampons. No, I'm sorry, wait. If you can get together with a group of friends, whether you're gonna be horseback riding, or swimming, or enjoying the free coffee in a posh hotel lobby, things are hard around here right now. Things are really rough, and you will get through it if you do it with your friends. Thank you.